wife and had the discussion that if so goes Texas, where are we going to move to then? And I can tell you, it's like the piece of paper. It has nothing on it because I don't know where it'll be. Texas is a good place. I will pick a fight. We were talking about the business community earlier, or the coalition or whatever be it. It made me think back to in 2007 when I first got in the legislature, in the Senate. I had a little piece of legislation that says, you know what? You as somebody that has your own personal firearm, you could keep your firearm locked out of sight in your own personal vehicle. Wow, what a concept is that? Do you know in some businesses you got fired for having your own firearm in your own vehicle locked out of sight, out of mind? I actually had a retired military person in my district who wanted to go work part-time and got home and filled out, was looking at the form, and it said you're going to get fired if you come to work because you got a firearm in your car. Well, legislation passed the Senate and it died on the other side. Not to say which side, but I mean the point being is it ultimately died. The next session, I said, well, we'll move that up from concealed handgun holders to we'll just make it apply to all firearms. Oh, we don't want that. We want the old version. Well, too late. That was last session. Passed that out. They killed it again. Third legislative session, we finally got it passed. This last session, I heard Campus Carey mentioned last year. I didn't think it was right that the student who goes onto their own campus couldn't have a firearm locked out of sight in their own personal vehicle, but the parents that went to visit them could. Parents can't get kicked out of school. The kid from the other campus that came to school, they can't get kicked out because they go to a different school. I thought we believed in freedoms. I was on a radio station here several years ago, and I'll never forget this. We were talking about my legislation, the original one. And I was debating some folks from the Brady campaign. And I made the point that it's real simple. It's people that hurt people. It's not the firearm. It's the person that uses it. And after I made my point, the guy from the Brady campaign, he said, you know, I agree with Glenn Hegar. And I wanted to say, can you say it louder? The fact is this. Whether I'm in the state senate or as controller may be the person who collects your bills. It may be the person that actually does your accounting. I will continue to stand for the principles and the values that I believe in. I think there was a question of maybe something about what would make you compromise your values or what would keep you straight. And in my mindset, the first answer was, you haven't met my wife. Do you know Dara Hegar? That, and my 3 kids, I tell you, I was thinking about the other day, we were talking to some people, and somebody said, can you think about what is one of the best moments that you had in 2013? And one of the things that conjured up into my mind is as I'm driving down the road with my wife and my 3 kids, my twins are in the back, little girl, little boy, and they get along great, but they fight like they're married somehow. They were carrying on. I don't even know what I tuned them out. Well, I don't even know what they were talking about. Their older sister, she said, Mom, Dad, do you know there's only one perfect person? And I thought, what in the world is she going to talk about herself now for? And so I didn't bite, but my wife said, well, Claire, thank you for telling us, but could you tell us who? And she said, God. Now, she may not have said Christ, but she said God. That was close enough for me. Now, we were on our way to church. Now, what would keep me straight? Those things. A lot of politicians will talk about their kids and talk about their family. But I tell you, if you want to know what is Texas worth fighting for, Texas is worth fighting for. And I think that's on every level. Because once we don't, we have nothing left for our kids. And I want to be, after this last legislative session of the fights of the pro-life, of character and of value, that has invigorated me to fight for our family values, to fight to keep government honest, to fight to make sure that our children actually have a Texas that we have been proud of and a place for them to call home. I see that's the 5-minute marker, so I will stop there and I'll be happy to answer questions. Yes, sir.
Glenn, could you tell us what steps you would take in the Comptroller's office to prevent us from being lied to over the budget, as we were in the last session. Deliberate manipulation of the numbers. You know the details of what went on, but we were told we had a balanced budget and we had a $9 billion deficit, I think, when all the numbers were added. What are you going to do to stop that?
I will tell people straight and look you in the eye and tell you what the numbers are. I can tell you, somebody had asked me a very long time ago, they said, will you fudge the numbers? And no. Numbers are numbers. They're not, that's what they are. I mean, it's no different than, as I mentioned, my grandfather Hegar, when he taught me very clearly as a young child, your handshake is your bond. That's your words. Now, if the legislature wants to defer a payment, what does that mean? Well, if you have 23 months of payments instead of 24 in the budgets, how many months, Wayne? 24, last time I checked. 2-year budgets, 24 months. Again, an Aggie, but I can count. The fact is if it's 23, you may make numbers on a paper, but you still have an expense over here. You have an expense for, sir? That's a very good question. That is a very good question. That's one that somebody had brought that up the other week, and I took us a few weeks with my kids with Christmas, and I tried to think not about politics, shame on me, and running for office, but I spent some time with my family. And that's one that I really want to look at, because the question is do you even certify it? Can you certify it? Are you supposed to certify it? But the numbers are the numbers, and they're nothing more, nothing less. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I would just like to know your thoughts on ending the property tax and replacing it with something along the lines of a consumption tax or something that so we can finally own our property.
Well, you took the words with your last statement. So you can own your property, because you really don't. The government owns it. The question is how much do you pay rent? I tell you, I don't like the property tax, never had. I think we should replace it. The best thing to replace it with is a consumption type tax, sales tax per se. I was talking to somebody the other day about it, and the question is what would that number be? I know what it was. I got it on a questionnaire with one of the Tea Party groups, and they said, well, what steps do you take? And I said, steps? You just do it. That's the only way you get there. You know, I know the votes have not been in the legislature a few sessions ago in order to try to get rid of it. But the fact is as Comptroller, I have said numerous times, or running as, that is the only fair way. Because the question is who pays? Everybody pays. And you actually, when you buy that loaf of bread or whatever be it, you pay the tax, and guess what? You get to walk away with the bread. You don't have to bring the last 4 loaves back. And that's kind of what it is with your property. I know, and I don't mean it in that, but that was the first thing that popped into my head. Other comments, complaints? Yes, ma'am. I answered your question earlier.
That statement, and it might be just my age talking, but there's a lot of people my age that aren't going to own property anytime soon. So what do you have to say to them? That they have to pay, we have to pay higher taxes on the things we consume, but we don't own property.
Well, to me, it's still a fairness. I mean, you're here in Texas, and so the fact is you pay sales tax today. You pay a portion of the tax, but you may not pay all of it. And so should we favor one set of folks because they may not own property versus other people? No, the fact is the landowners, if you look at local property as in a school district, they're paying half of it. Well, why shouldn't it be distributed among everybody and not just based only on the landowners? And you treat all landowners the same. You don't pick and choose winners and losers. I mean, I just think, and the reason I said earlier is, you know, business people, you fill in, Texans should succeed on their own merits. And you shouldn't be picking winners and losers. And the winners and losers, if that means that younger people, because they don't own their home, then that puts a greater burden on them in compared to the current system. Maybe it does, but it's fair. That'd be my personal opinion. Yes, ma'am. That's correct. That's correct. Yes, ma'am. Okay. Okay. Thank y'all for letting me be here. God bless you.